Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala syarfil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah. In the previous video, I have explained to you how the progression of how, in terms of the understanding of psychology today, we are progressing towards the understanding of psychology at a higher level. That means at CBT, we are talking only about the brain, cognitive thought, and then at MCBT, DBT, we are talking about the mind, all right? And then now we are talking about the heart. But the whole idea is, what is cognitive thought, what is the mind, what is the heart, what is the rim of the ruh from the perspective of Islam? Because if we look from this whole idea, these are all nature of consciousness. That means, what is the Islamic perspective of the nature of our consciousness? And in Islam, we have the answer, because consciousness is the heart problem. All right, you ask any atheist, any person, somebody may say, you know, out of his thinking, he says, I'm an atheist. The fact that he can say that he is an atheist is that he has this consciousness, this understanding. And this understanding, definitely, if he say he is conscious, because he say he can claim that he's an atheist, or he can claim that he knows this world, how this world is created through, for example, like they say, okay, Darwinism or whatever it is. He has that consciousness. My question to this atheist is, where does this consciousness come? Does it make any difference to you if you are an atheist, which is you are not conscious? For example, a lot of philosophers as well as neuroscientists, when they study the human mind at this level, they say we are over-designed. We don't need to know whether we are an atheist or not to live in this earth. That means if we say the closest to us is our chimpanzee, what is the consciousness of the chimpanzee? It just go around, find food, eat, sleep, and then fulfill the role as a chimpanzee. We can be something as a higher grade of chimpanzee, if we want to call that in inverted commas, a higher level of chimpanzee, all right? And then we would live just like the chimpanzee. Maybe we have a slightly higher level of communication skill, all right? Because the chimpanzee use grunt, maybe we have a slightly different symbolic language. But why do we need to know the nature of our being? Why did we need to know that who is our creator? Why do we need to know why are we living on this earth? All these questions are questions of consciousness. That's why the hard problem of atheism is that how to explain consciousness. They cannot explain. That's why now we have this post-materialist worldview where they say we're talking about the mind. All right? But in Islam, we have the answer. And in the Al-Quran Al-Karim, Allah tells us very clearly why we are created here on this earth. In Surah Baqarah, Allah told us that He is going to create a Khalifa, a vicegerent. And the angels ask Him, are you going to create a being, a conscious being that is going to shed blood? Then Allah says to the angel that I know what you know not. And Allah tells us in the other verses where Allah tells us that He created us from clay. And then from clay, He created us, our progeny, from the fluid. That means the sperm and the egg, which is mentioned. And then Allah tells us very succinctly, and I blew my spirit unto him. That means Allah blew that spirit unto us. So we have this ruh. And this ruh is the whole idea of having awareness, consciousness. So if we talk about awareness, consciousness, it is the role of the ruh. So at the highest level of our existence, we have the ruh, but built into the ruh, we have our heart, the qalb, and we have the aqal. And this whole model is the model of consciousness, which Islam has the most succinct example, explanation to the nature of consciousness. Because other than that, why are we able to look around at this universe? Look at the furthest star, use almost powerful telescope, and see this universe. Why are we able to understand the nature of the quantum state? which is coming closer and closer towards the idea of the spiritual state. Why are we going given this idea of entanglement? All these things point to a higher level thinking, which is far beyond the need to exist in the physical world. And because of that, we must understand this nature of Islamic nature of consciousness that we have built into us, the awareness, and the whole process is for us to realize who Allah is and to live a life as His Khalifa on this earth. That means Allah tells us what are the basic idea of being a Khalifa on this earth is for us to submit to Allah, realize His grandeur and glory, and then strive to make ourselves good, help others to be good, make the world good, fill it with love, fill it with mercy, fill it with grace, fill it with all the wonderful things that Allah has ordained upon for us in the hereafter. But because we live on this earth, Allah gives us the task of making this world good. And to make this world good, Allah gives us this whole idea of our understanding, the consciousness that is given to us in terms of our cognitive consciousness, mindful consciousness, intuitive heart consciousness, and spiritual consciousness. But all of them are not separate. You don't say that if I say this is separate. No, they are all one and the same thing. It is dependent on our level of practice. That means the higher is our level of awareness of the nature of our existence, the higher is our level of consciousness. With the higher level of consciousness, we become more aware. And we become more aware, we become more conscious. And the whole idea is Allah tells us to live this life to perfect oneself. That means this journey is not just a physical thing, it's not just having material things, it's not having gold, silver, tilted land, as I mentioned in the Quran, but it is nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah wants us to be near to Allah. To be near means we must realize the nature of ourselves, which is close to Allah, because Allah tells us also in the Quran that He is closer to us than our jugular vein. He is closer to us than even our physical heart. So what are all this mean? It is meant that the greatest of all, Allah is the absolute aware, the attribute of awareness. Allah is the absolute awareness. And He gives us in some small measure our sense of awareness. And this some small measure of awareness is our consciousness. And our consciousness consists of the realm of the Ruh, the Qalb, the Akal, and the Jasad. As we live on this earth. When we leave this earth, it is the Ruh, the Qalb, and the Akal. The Jasad will just disintegrate. So we are created to be a being that realizes the grandeur of Allah, and we have been given the whole possibility of close proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is a fantastic gift. And that is a joy. That is when you are showered with the closeness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His forgiveness, His grace, His mercy, and His love. You understand why you are on this earth. You understand why we have to submit ourselves to the Allah, our Creator. And why when we do that, we become closer and closer to Allah. And when we do that, we try to live this life, a life of goodness, a life of peace, a life of happiness, a life of love. No doubt there are challenges up and down in life. We have this challenge, we have situational conditions which are not bad. Sometimes it is evil. We have war, we have famine, we have so many things. But the whole idea is for us as Muslims, if there are war, our whole idea to be a Khalifa of Allah is to make sure that there is no war. If there is inequality, there are some people who are living in poverty or dying because of hunger. The whole role of a Muslim is to be conscious that there are people dying, and then we try to use the level best of our existence to correct the situation by helping to create a just world. And so many things that we can do to be an achiever in life, using all the awareness that Allah has given us to help shape this world to become a better world. And we are constantly conscious of our ubudiyah to Allah, our submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seeking His forgiveness, His grace, His mercy, and His love. And when we're able to do that, inshallah, our consciousness will grow and our existence as a human being will become perfected. But this journey is a continuous journey. There is no perfection until we return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah.